The midnight hour, Carlos Correa strikes a huge deal. The biggest contract ever given to an infielder in Major League Baseball history. Last year, Carlos Correa got the highest average annual value ever to an infielder in Major League history. And this year, he gets the highest dollar amount for an infielder in Major League Baseball history. 13 years, $350 million. Pay the man. It's my time. Mound visits for $350 million. That's the going rate. I am glad. When I saw this contract, Lakers, my immediate takeaway, I am glad the Astros are not in business with Carlos Correa.
I thought, I'll take a step further, they dodged a massive bullet. I mean, look, tip of the cap and credit to Scott Boras, who not only got what Correa wanted, he got what he wanted, which was to be a part of a deal that was of that length and that magnitude. Correa got the money that he was always seeking, and the Astros got away from what would have been a debilitating contract had they even considered doing that kind of thing, especially with Click out of the conversation, though I don't think Crane would have done it either. But good luck to the San Francisco Giants, and we'll see how it works out. But just, first glance, and when I saw the numbers, I was shocked. I was like, later in his career, just to try and get return on investment, first base, third base, designated hitter, I don't know where he's going to be, how they plan on using him. I hope it was more front-loaded than back-loaded. I don't know. But that just seems to me like that one's not going to turn out to be a winner for the Giants.
Yeah, even if it is like it has the escalators, which it probably will, it doesn't impact the average annual, like
right.
the salary, tax salary. Whenever we look at it year by year, you're looking at $27 million for Carlos Correa. This contract is going to pay him AAV, $27 million until he is 41 years old. And if we're being quite honest, look, I love Carlos Correa. I think I've made that very clear. I know that I make fun of the mound visits, and that's not really pointed to Carlos Correa.
At one point, he was one of your favorite players.
He was my favorite Astro when he was here. There's no doubt about it. I love Carlos Correa. I think he has a great baseball IQ. I think he's a good offensive shortstop. I think he's a great defensive shortstop at his best, although last year there were some signs saying that he showed a little bit decline defensively. When I make fun of the mound visits, that's because there was a local sports radio personality in the city that said Carlos Correa's best attribute was mound visits, his leadership, which is outrageous because he's got an unbelievable glove, a cannon for an arm, and he's got a really good bat for the shortstop position. Carlos Correa is one of my favorite players in all of baseball. There is no reason Carlos Correa should get paid more than any other infielder in Major League Baseball history. Carlos Correa has one top 5 MVP finish in his career. 2021 is probably the only year where he was worth $27 million. Offensively, he's probably never been worth $27 million. And by the way, shortstops don't age very well.
No.
Once Carlos Correa has to switch positions, whether it's third base, whether it's first base, whether it's DH, whenever he gets to his mid to late 30s, and then eventually into his 40s, which this contract takes him to, he's not going to live up to the contract, the $27 million. He might not even live up to it next year. Somebody who's been injury prone for most of his career. I shouldn't say entire. For most of his career, there's no way that Carlos Correa should have got $350 million.
Look, I'm not mad at him, and you will always appreciate him for what he did for the Houston Astros. But you knew all along that he had these grandiose expectations for what he was going to get, for how long he was going to get it, and like you said, with the AAV, where he was going to fit amongst some of the biggest contracts in baseball. When I look at this and I say, look, he's not Aaron Judge. He's not Mike Trout. He's not a guy offensively that puts up those kind of numbers that warrant that kind of money in today's day and age. Even a Shohei Ohtani, who also does it pitching, by the way, which helps him a lot, and that's why he's so valuable. When you look at it and say, look, I get that all of a sudden there was this mad rush that shortstops deserve that kind of money in the last couple of years. When you talk about the deal that he just got, when you talk about Tatis Jr., when you talk about a Lindor, but all of those are up for analysis as the contracts get later in life because of the fact that these guys have to hit the way that the other guys hit when they're just playing the outfield, and they still have to play defense at a high enough level to maintain playing the position. And I have serious doubts whether any of those three guys with those kind of contracts. Look, we already know Tatis Jr. with injuries was shuffled into the outfield, and obviously then with the PEDs and everything, he's in question as a player and if he's going to play in San Diego or elsewhere. But all three of those guys giving shortstops that kind of money, I think it's very risky.
Yeah, Twitch is kind of banging on me saying that I'm giving too much grief towards Carlos Correa. This has nothing to do with Carlos Correa. I'm happy Carlos Correa got paid, and I'm happy that his family's never going to have to worry about anything, and his distant relatives are never going to have to worry about anything. Like, it's cool for Carlos Correa to get paid. What I'm saying is I'm glad that the Astros aren't the one to give that type of contract.
Me too.
$350 for 13 years is insane. I don't care if the market's telling you that or not. It is insane, and he might not ever have a year where he's worth $27 million, and then at minimum, that second half of the contract is going to be disaster for San Francisco. He might not even make the playoffs in San Francisco, if we're being completely honest with you. And I know that San Francisco was desperate after missing out on Aaron Judge. They wanted a splash. They wanted a big name, and they bring in Carlos Correa. This isn't banging on Correa. It's just saying that I'm glad the Astros didn't give that contract.
Hey guys, back to the video in just 1 minute. Before that, I want to tell you about Fitz Roofing. If you got a leaky roof or need a full roof replacement on your business or your home, and or you want to get something done around the yard or maybe something around the house, they have the best warranties in the business, the best ratings, and the best service. They're going to take care of you every step of the way. Fitz Roofing, making a difference, one home at a time.
Correa is the latest and greatest to get these massive deals in terms of length, because this wasn't the AAV that Correa got last year, 35.1. This one's $27 million. And we've started to see the kind of trend in Major League Baseball where these players are giving up some dollars per year for long-term security.
I was going to say for a lifetime of financial comfort, because they give up a little in terms of the per year, but they get taken care of for multiple lifetimes, and they never, like you said, they never have to work again, and nor does anybody in their family.
Correa, 13 years. Julio Rodriguez, a little bit different because they took away his arbitration years and his league minimum years. 13 years. They signed him when he was a rookie. Fernando Tatis, 14 years. Bogarts just got 11. Trey Turner just got 11. You go back to like Mookie Betts, who got 12 with the Dodgers. Wander Franco got 11. Bryce Harper got 13. The trend that we're seeing in Major League Baseball is that, and look, this has always kind of went on. This really isn't something that's entirely new. Trout has done a big contract like this. We know A-Rod did a big contract like this back in the day too. Giancarlo Stanton, Robinson Cano. But maybe we're seeing it more frequently. Maybe the volume of it is picking up where they're signing 10-plus year deals. We know that this is going to continue. You're the top free agent on the market. You're probably going to get a 10-year deal. Somebody's going to be desperate to bring in a star like the Giants are desperate with Carlos Correa. Does it bother you that major free agents are signing this 10-plus year deals, especially from like an Astros point of view first, knowing that Crane's not going to want to go more than like 5 or 6 seasons? This pretty much takes the Astros out of the market for any big-time free agents.
Well, it depends. I mean, I think one thing that you do have to factor in on the flip side of that is if they keep winning, guys like Abreu, who when he said in his press conference, as soon as I watch this team in the World Series, that's where I wanted to play next year. You're still going to get guys that are going to want to try and win, depending on where they are in their career, that are going to consider the Astros. I'm glad that all these long-term deals aren't being signed by the Astros, because I think they're going to be killers for the franchises that sign them. And I think that this is the going trend right now, but I'm not saying it's the right trend that teams should follow. It's not the textbook that they should be, taking step by step in terms of what's the right way to run your franchise. I think they could be absolutely just handcuffed, strangulation, and all the above in terms of if the more teams that do this. But I think it's in the advantage of the Astros. I kept thinking about the Yordan deal, thinking about Yordan and his agent, as much as they wanted the money up front, going, wow, what did we walk away from? Because it looks like just the same way the Astros basically offered a number to Correa that he ended up almost doubling by getting to with the Giants. If you're Yordan Alvarez, you got to be looking back going, did I just leave about $150 million on the table? And so if you're an Astros fan, you feel phenomenal about it. But you got Kyle Tucker waiting in the wings, too, that's going to be looking for a contract. And don't think he's not looking at all these numbers going, I'm worth all that. And I'm sorry, Astros fans, I'm not sure he's worth all that.
I don't think anybody is worth all that. I would put James Click. I would build a statue for James Click. I know he just got fired after winning the World Series, and I'm okay with that. But I would also build a statue of James Click for absolutely robbing Yordan Alvarez of tons of money.
Question.
In terms of the 10-plus year deals and the Astros never going to be in that market as long as they're owned by Jim Crane, thank you. That's fine. Like, I do not care. Look at all of these contracts that are 10-plus years, and they almost all of them are either already failures or trending towards that way of being a failure. Carlos Correa hasn't played a game with the San Francisco Giants. I don't want to be the dude paying the last $200 million years of Carlos Correa's 13-year contract in those final 8 years. I'm not even sure he's going to live up to it in the first 5 years.
I think first 5 years is going to be pushing to the return on the investment right at the midway point and beyond. I think is basically a point of no return for the Giants.
Julio Rodriguez, again, they signed him when he was a rookie. It's so young that whenever they sign him, that's how you got to do it. If you're going to sign a player to like a 10-year plus deal, you have to do it pretty much right when they get called up to the big leagues. And even then, it still worries me a bit. Like Julio Rodriguez had back issues as a rookie. What if those back issues continue for the, maybe not even the next 5 years, but what about the last 8 years of that contract? I'm more okay doing it for rookies than I am players that have already used up their service time and enter free agency. Fernando Tatis, he hasn't been worth it. There's even been rumors that they're trying to trade Fernando Tatis. Bogarts hasn't played a game into his Padre contract. He's going to be nearly 40 years old whenever that 11-year contract comes up. And, shortstops don't really, hold up. Like, what happened to Cal Ripken in his late 30s?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. And you look at it and say, well, certain teams that it reeks desperation. But, in the fact that you're looking at it from a positional standpoint going, shortstops are the guys that don't age well. Shortstops are the guys that even a Cal Ripken Jr. ends up moving to third base.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at them as they get older, their range goes, their arm goes, and yet they're still getting the same amount of money, so you're going to have to be forced to play them, and you're trying to figure out where they fit in. And you look at those long-term deals, and we started this well before Correa even left Houston and talked about Miguel Cabrera, and we talked about Albert Pujols, and we talked about how many of the deals when you did the deep dive of this magnitude actually turn out for both player and team. It always turns out for the player because their pocketbooks are fat. But sometimes they get fat too as along the way. And then you're struggling to find a place to play them. And then you're basically worried of, begging for them to retire and trying to figure out when the swan song starts because the music's been playing and it's really a sad, sad song. And that's what you're looking at for a lot of teams. Desperation is exactly what the Giants were forced to deal with and why they made this move. And like you said, when you look at, I hope Correa enjoyed all of his playoff runs with the Astros because in the National League with as many good teams that are going to beat the hell out of each other for the foreseeable future with the contracts and the players and where they're at, the Giants are going to struggle to make the playoffs no matter how much money they spend.
They're not better than the Dodgers.
No.
They're probably not better than the Padres.
No, I was going to say, in their division, they already got two teams that they're third fiddle.